For centuries, the Mediterranean world had bowed to Rome. From Britannia to Egypt, her eagles cast long shadows. Yet to the east, beyond deserts and rivers, stood an equal in pride and ambition: Persia. First the Parthians, then the Sassanids, heirs of Cyrus and Darius, masters of cavalry and empire. Where Rome's strength was her disciplined legions, Persia's was the thunder of horsemen and the wealth of the Silk Road. Two titans stood at opposite ends of the known world, and between them lay the crossroads of destiny. Mesopotamia. The rivalry's fire was lit in 53 BC, when Marcus Licinius Crassus, richest man of Rome, sought glory in the east. With 7 legions he marched, dreaming of conquest. But at Carrhae, the Parthians awaited, with horse archers and cataphracts armored like living fortresses. The sun blazed, the desert rang with arrows, and the Roman square dissolved in confusion. Crassus was slain, his legions shattered. In Rome, the shock was thunderous. An eagle's standard, symbol of Rome, lost to the east. The message was clear: Persia was no prey. Over the next centuries, the frontier became a wound that never healed. Emperors rose and fell, yet always they turned east. Rome struck into Armenia, into Mesopotamia, into Persia's beating heart. Persia answered with fire, laying siege to Roman strongholds, raiding Syria, even threatening Antioch and beyond. At times, treaties brought fragile peace. But peace between Rome and Persia was but the pause between storms. The struggle was not only steel and blood, it was for the lifeblood of trade. Spices, silk, and gold flowed along the eastern roads, and whoever ruled Mesopotamia ruled the arteries of wealth. Each empire dreamed of being the master of both west and east, of crowning their king. Shapur I bore the ancient title King of Kings. He sought not only to defend Persia, but to humble Rome itself. His armies thundered westward, cavalry clad in iron, banners blazing with fire worship. Rome answered with legions, but her empire was weary, torn by civil wars and plague. Into this storm strode an emperor, Valerian, seeking glory and salvation for Rome. In 260 AD, near Edessa, the two giants clashed. Roman legions fought desperately beneath the burning sun, but Persia's horsemen encircled them, arrows raining like locusts. Disease and despair broke the Roman lines. Valerian, emperor of Rome, was captured alive, the only Roman emperor ever taken in chains. Shapur paraded him like a trophy, using the emperor of the West as a footstool to mount his horse. The world gasped. Rome, invincible Rome, had been humiliated. But Rome was not finished. Generals like Odenathus of Palmyra rallied the east. Legions stormed Persia's borders, retaking lost ground, burning Ctesiphon itself, the jewel of the Tigris. The balance swung again. Across decades, kings and emperors rose and fell. Galerius, defeating Persia at Satala. Julian the Apostate, marching deep into Mesopotamia, only to die on the field, his dream of conquest buried with him. Each triumph was answered by disaster, each victory by loss. By the 5th century, it seemed as if the struggle had no end. Rome, by now the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire, held firm in Syria and Anatolia. Persia struck back through Armenia and Mesopotamia. Cities were sacked, fortresses traded, but neither titan could deliver the death blow. They were locked like wrestlers, each bleeding, each unbowed. The people who lived between them knew only fire. Its emperor Heraclius inherited a realm crumbling under the weight of enemies and debts. To the east, Persia under Khosrow II stood mighty, dreaming of finishing what Darius had begun centuries before, the destruction of Rome. In 602 AD, war erupted once more. This was not a border skirmish. It was apocalypse. The armies of Khosrow poured west. They swept across Syria, seized Jerusalem in 614, and carried away the true cross, the holiest relic of Christendom. Egypt fell soon after, grain lifeline of the empire. The Byzantine heartland seemed ready to collapse. In Constantinople, despair ruled. Some whispered the end of the world had come, that God had abandoned Rome. But Heraclius refused surrender. In 622, he struck back, selling treasures, emptying churches. He rebuilt an army. With prayers and oaths, he led his men not to defend, but to invade Persia itself. Across Armenia and into the Persian heartland he marched, burning temples, striking fear into the empire of fire worshippers. The tide turned. At Nineveh in 627, Heraclius faced Persia's might in open battle. The clash was brutal. Swords, spears, and cries lost in the fog. But Rome endured, Heraclius leading from the front, his sword red with blood. Persia's army broke. Khosrow fled, hated even by his nobles. Soon after, he was overthrown and executed. The empire of Persia, exhausted by war, fractured. Heraclius recovered the true cross, returning it to Jerusalem in triumph. After 6 centuries of struggle, it seemed Rome had finally broken its eternal rival. But both empires were shadows of themselves, battered, drained, hollow. Even as Rome and Persia staggered from the battlefield, a new power stirred in the deserts of Arabia. Within a decade, the army